A ceasefire agreement to end 3 days of fighting between Israel and Palestinian militants appears to be largely holding. The violence escalated when Israel assassinated a leader from the Islamic Jihad group, which responded by firing dozens of rockets and mortars into Israel. Palestinian officials say dozens of people have been killed in Israeli strikes on Gaza since Friday. From Jerusalem, our Middle East correspondent Yolande now reports.
A crush of grief for Islamic Jihad's most powerful commander in Gaza. Revenge, the mourners shout. And soon it came, the armed group firing barrages of rockets at Israeli cities. The death of the veteran militant is a serious blow to the jihadist group. He was killed here with 7 others in intense Israeli bombing. It was horrifying. They targeted the house with 5 or 6 rockets, says Ahmed Tamraz, who lives nearby. There were bodies on the ground. The violence also reached Jerusalem, as Israeli nationalists visited its most disputed holy site for a Jewish holiday. Israel's air defense system could be seen intercepting 2 Palestinian rockets over the city, leaving trails of white smoke. Israeli officials say they launched their military operation to prevent attacks by Islamic Jihad on Israeli civilians, that they had precise, detailed intelligence of its plans. But normal civilian life has been on hold in much of Israel. This evening, warning sirens sent beachgoers in Tel Aviv rushing to air raid shelters. Further south, that's become routine.
We learn to live with this situation. We have a shelter in our house. It's like 10 seconds to go there. And then we need to stay there 10 minutes.
After fighting since Friday, there are hopes that a ceasefire brokered by Egypt will stick. But people here know that a truce is always temporary.
Well, let's get more now on the situation there and speak to Yolande. Yolande, welcome to you. What is the latest?
Well, after things looked very fragile at first, with some rocket warning sirens going off in the villages that are close to Gaza on the Israeli side, things did settle down. We've had overnight relative calm restored. And that after 55 hours of really quite intense fighting, then this Egypt-brokered ceasefire took hold, both sides agreeing to it. And it appears to have ended what was actually the worst round of violence between Israel and militants in Gaza in just over a year.
Yeah, and Yolande, just explain to us who was targeted originally by Israel and why.
Well, this all started a week ago when Israel arrested a top Islamic Jihad official in the occupied West Bank. Then these direct threats started from Islamic Jihad against Israel. Israel imposed roadblocks and closures on the south of the country because it was very worried about an Islamic Jihad attack. And then on Friday, it launched what it said was a preemptive operation to stop the threat from this militant group. It's the second biggest militant group in Gaza. It does have a powerful rocket arsenal, as we saw, with something like 900 rockets, according to the Israeli military, fired towards Israel over the past couple of days. But importantly, Hamas, the more powerful militant group which governs Gaza, did not get involved in this round of fighting, and that did help prevent a further escalation. What I should say we're waiting for this morning is news that Israel is going to reopen its crossings with Gaza to allow people out. They could be medical patients, but also, most importantly, to get aid in at the moment, because since the tensions started last week, those crossings have been closed, and that has led to a real humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with its sole power plant having to close down because it relies on imported fuel in order to supply power.
And what do you think now that a prospect for a longer ceasefire?
Well, Egypt has been involved for some time in trying to mediate a longer-term truce, with lots going on behind the scenes. Hamas is very involved in that as well. It has demands about its prisoners being released from Israeli jails, which are very difficult for Israel to meet. Israel has demands about a couple of Israeli citizens who are detained in Gaza by Hamas being released. There's a lot going on in the background, but still as I was saying, it is very unfortunate that despite the fact there are these rounds of violence that we see, which get a lot of international attention, bring a lot of calls for things to stop, really the underlying issues do not go away between Israel and Palestinian militants.
OK, Yulan now in Jerusalem, thank you for the update from there.